Good Saturday morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I know that you could be doing so many other things, but you have chosen to be here with us, and so we want to say thank you. My name is Kimberly York. I am the interim director for Black Programs, and I just want to very quickly say a hearty thank you to our sponsors for this, the Halliburton Welcome Fund and the NMSU Engineering Department. We really appreciate your thoughtfulness and your support of recruiting and retaining students of color in STEM. And so today we have the privilege of collaborating with the SACNAS chapter at NMSU, and we want to say thank you to Dr. Bella for so graciously agreeing to collaborate with us. It's very important that strategic alliances are the engine that fuels collaborations, and it is the ultimate device that helps to support students and strengthen support networks for students. Today, we have the privilege of having with us today. Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bella and she can actually do the introductions. So thank you. We really appreciate everyone that is here. We welcome any opportunities for feedback after this event so that we can strengthen and make this even better next time.
Thank you, Miss Kim. So it's a real pleasure to be here today, and thank you all for joining us. So we have two guest panelists here with us today, and I'm going to let them tell you a little bit about themselves before we get started on presentations as well. So we have Robert Polanco, and Robert I have a special connection with Robert because Robert was a mentor to my son as he was applying to college and helped my son to really develop some very strong and competitive personal statements as he entered into the college world for himself as an undergrad. And so when this opportunity came up, Robert was the first person that popped into my mind, and I thought, who better to help our students to draft and create competitive applications to their summer research experiences than Robert, right? And so I'm really grateful that he's here with us today. And then I also, our second panelist today is Elijah Vela, and Elijah is Robert's mentee. Elijah is a student at Stanford University, and he actually is going to be talking a little bit about the STAR method of interviewing, which is a really awesome method for fully engaging in an interview in a competitive way. So Robert, if you want to introduce yourself first, and then we'll have Elijah introduce himself. Thanks.
Certainly. Thank you for that brief introduction, Dr. Bella. Again, my name is Robert Polanco. I am a first generation Angelino. So I'm originally from Los Angeles, born to Salvadoran immigrants. Grew up in South Central, so tough neighborhood, and through a lot of coaching and counseling from a lot of generous people, big community, coached me on my way over to Dartmouth College, where, was able to go full ride and study sociology there, history, and also studio art. And when I graduated, I was fortunate enough to have the flexibility to do something I was passionate about. So I jumped into AmeriCorps, served with a company called Playworks. And at the same time, I became a college counselor part-time at the Emily K Center here in Durham, North Carolina. And through my expertise, my lived experience, and just my ability to connect with the students, I grew in that organization and I was able to become an administrator there. And through that process, coaching these kids, kind of like motivating them to believe in themselves to do more than what the ceiling might be expected of from them. So always pushing kids to apply to competitive institutions, but also local institutions with the goal of getting full funding, right? So whether it's going to Ivy League school and getting a full ride or being in state and getting a full merit scholarship here, my goal is always to figure out how we can help students from marginalized communities and from underrepresented communities get full rides to their universities. So been doing that for a while. I met Elijah when I went over to Boston and I started working with SCS Noonan Scholars. And after SCS Noonan Scholars, I was, tinkering with the idea of starting my own company. And I did end up starting my own company, ID College Advising, which is a 501c3. And I do provide pro bono and also workshops at, accessible rates for marginalized communities. So I've been doing that for a while. COVID kind of put a ding in that, so I'm a little rusty, but I'm excited to be here working with all you guys and just going over how we can possibly draft a good statement for STEM. Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you, Robert. And Elijah, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, yeah. Well, my name is Elijah Vela. I am an undergraduate studying computer science at Stanford right now. I'm an alum of Doña Ana Community College and of Arrowhead Park Early College High School. Uh, I was accepted into SCS New and Scholars during my junior year. That's how I met Robert. Robert was a fantastic mentor, really gave me a lot of the tools I needed to put together a great college application. And he's a big reason why I'm, sitting here today, able to share my, skills and training with you guys that I've picked up in my time at Stanford. Um, yeah, I think that's about sums up what I have. Thanks so much.
Great. So we'll go ahead and go into the right into the presentations. And so, Robert, you want to get us started?
Certainly. I'm glad to get us started. And again, guys, before I share my screen and go into like the generic PowerPoint and jump between some resources to show you guys, I think my approach in helping people create their voice is the why, the what, and the why. So helping you be authentic as to how you present your purpose and your interest in different schools or different environments. So with that in mind, today's presentation is going to revolve around what and why. I was fortunate enough to have one of my friends who recently applied to the UCLA School of Nursing volunteer her resume and her personal statements for us to look at, and then I have a generic personal statement. So I'm gonna be able to share those with you guys as we go through the presentation. But again, my name is Robert. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to like wave your hand or anything like that in the Zoom presentation. I know this is new, but I'm gonna get started and we're gonna dive in, okay? Thanks again. Okay, and can I just get a thumbs up if you guys can see this? All right, thank you so much. All right, guys. So again, statement writing for STEM, and this is presented by myself, Robert Polanco. It's my pleasure to be here. Um, things we're gonna talk about today is, big in society right now is the idea of building a brand and building a narrative for yourself. So when you come to companies, when you come to different institutions, they can get a full picture of who you are. So your resume can show your expertise, your technical background, your lab experience, your research experience, all that stuff. And how are we creating a picture of who you are through the personal statements? It wouldn't make sense to repeat the exact same things you have on your personal statement that are already reflected in your resume. So how are we creating the most robust, authentic picture of you to the people who are going to be reading your applications? And some of the things we're going to go over are your personal narrative. We're going to talk about why STEM is important, especially for, again, marginalized and underrepresented communities. We're going to break off into a group and do elevator pitches. So we're going to, work with each other real quick just to establish our what and our why we're interested in STEM and why it's important to us. We're going to talk about tailoring your presentation or your statement to your audience. How do we investigate our audience? And we're going to go over soft skills, additional little bonuses that can help us kind of breach the third wall or the fourth wall, whatever it's called. Like, how can you actually get access to somebody who is in control of bringing you on to the school, to the program, to the job? Like, how can we network and get around some of these things? And then again, we're going to focus on highlighting research experience and the value of that. And then finally, I'm going to give you guys some resources, the what and the why, reverse outlining, which I think is a really great way to approach writing your essay. We'll focus on actually that narrative and being authentic. And finally, just sharing a resource like Grammarly, let you guys see how that works so we can focus on our story as opposed to always focusing on how we write or the grammar behind it and, fixating on that. Okay. So with that, we're going to dive right in. All right, personal narrative. So I picked this picture because obviously Hidden Numbers was a cool movie, but it's like the behind the scenes, and people are talking a lot in America about, oh, we're finally having representation for where the country is going. And for me, it's like, no, we've been here the whole time. People are actually advocating now. So we're getting a more diverse community, and it's actually reflecting in STEM and in politics. I think, we just had the first Native American selected to the cabinet ever. So it's great to see things like that, and just encouraging people who might be from backgrounds that aren't normally represented to actually take a dive and trust themselves. A lot of my students that I work with, they're not always high flyers. A lot of them, especially in the post grad period, when I've worked with people applying to architecture school, law school, MPAs, nursing schools, a lot of these students have really complex backgrounds. So they might not start off academically strong, but they evolve throughout their course. A lot of the students I've worked with seeking post grad are always nervous about their GPA or their test scores, things like that. So it's creating this narrative and telling your story about growth. That's important to helping people understand why you might have a lower GPA or your test score might not be as strong. So creating a personal brand and that narrative for yourself is really going to help you um, kind of transcend that grade or a test score. So the qualitative helps kind of balance out the quantitative. And some of the questions that I have here are, what is your background, personal background, whether it's being first gen, whether it's being a minority, whether it's being somebody who has a different type of expertise or diversity that they bring to the table. Those things are important to highlight in your personal statement. Oh, sorry. And obviously, how does that background influence your drive to pursue a career in science or a STEM-based field? Um, and again, what impact do you want to make on the field and why? So I'm going to put up a sample personal statement that we have here. It's an example of a statement that's more quantitative. Um, just a generic statement. I'll let you guys take a look at it, give you about 2-3 minutes to just take a look at it. And then I'll open it up to get feedback from the audience and just have you guys kind of express to me what you think their what and their why was, okay? All right, let me just get this set up. Okay, and I'll just leave it like this, and I'll set a timer for about 3 minutes so that you guys can take a read at it. And when you're done, just give me a thumbs up on the Zoom. right, guys, I'm getting thumbs up. Thank you, guys. I think we're longest 2 minutes ever. Okay, got it. So let me turn off the timer, and I'll open it up, and just if anybody wants to share what they think about this statement, what they think about the what and the why that's being presented here, and if you feel like it's something that is it stands out, does it is it kind of like in the middle? Does anybody want to share their thoughts on this? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I would like to say something. Can
Yeah.
you hear me well? So
Yes.
something that I like it about this statement is that the person not only state the background experience, but if you see the third paragraph, at the end of the third paragraph, the person mentioned about how he or she can contribute to the universe. I think that's really important. And sometimes we totally forgot this part. We just ask for like improvements in our careers and forget the part that how can we contribute, or like how can I add to your department, to your university.
Hmm. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I'm glad he pointed out that third paragraph, because to me that third paragraph was important. Kind of like we discussed about highlighting your experience, stating that they're the sole undergraduate in the program, actually outlining some of their lab experience, which is obviously going to be reflected in the resume. And the reason I wanted to present this statement is because although it is somewhat generic, it's pretty well outlined. It's straight to the point. It's blocked out. They talk about what they're going to contribute to the group, but I liked it because it's more of a quantitative statement. It's direct. Not everybody writes like really flowery or colorful, or has a extenuating circumstance or a background that they feel is, you know, um, expresses some type of hardship or some transcendental experience that they've had. So it's good sometimes to just have something straightforward, direct, where you state what your goals are, what your interest is, and that's how some people write. So it's important to see examples like this. This statement reminds me of an essay that we wrote um, with one of my students who he wasn't a very flowery writer. He was, and I'll provide this as a resource to Dr. Bella so they can get it out to you guys as well. But he wrote a more technical essay, and it was actually about how his interest in computer science and building computers came about. And he wrote a story that was basically how he got lost in in building a personal computer. It was for gaming, but he tricked his family into believing that it was for schoolwork. But he talked about how he kind of got lost in the details of going onto the websites, and it was like stock prices and finding the cheapest part at the best rate, and going through his experience, kind of getting lost in the details of building it, of learning about microchips and different components. And it was a different essay that I had helped somebody write, because typically students write more qualitative essays, but it was a cool way for him to actually express his interest in the field and how he kind of got lost and immersed in it. So that's always great to convey in a kind of like quantitative essays. Your interest, how it developed. It's more logical. It's more direct, as opposed to telling like a personal narrative about how you kind of got pulled into the field. Okay, so that's why I wanted to show you guys this one. No. Okay. All right. So why STEM? Um, took some stats from Wired.com. Big uh, tech magazine. Um, we have the link there so you guys can refer to it. But the STEM labor force in 2018 was 8.65 million, pretty much, which is huge, and it's only growing. We're virtual now. We need people on the technical end of Zoom to figure out kinks, to code for us, and there's just not a lot of representation. As you can see, 84% is the number of STEM professionals who are white or Asian males in the field. So there's really a lack of diversity in the field, and that's all. Diversity is always important to, like Dr. Bella was saying at the beginning, to create strategic partnerships to advance fields in a different direction, to have a more holistic vibe in the field. It's not always just quantitative. There's got to be some holistic, like um, just taking people's emotions into consideration, so that we don't end up in the matrix type situations. So things like that. But one of the things that caught my eye in looking over these stats was that since 1991, the percentage of women who earn degrees in comp sci has dropped 12%, and that was as of 2018. So I'm excited to see that we have a lot of young ladies here. So to represent that area, um, the wage gap between women and men in STEM jobs about $16,000 per year, and it's plus 40%, the percentage difference in the number of U.S. information and technology patents filed by mixed sex teams compared to all male teams. So again, when we're talking about collaborating, um, I guess breaking generational poverty and like actually moving the needle in a significant way for disenfranchised communities, we need to be at the table and we want to be at the table. It's just about getting that confidence and breaking the barriers and having coaches and mentors and advocates who actually help you break the threshold and get in just so you can get your foot in the door. So these are the kind of like the logistical reasons as to why STEM, why we should try to push more minorities and more uh, females into STEM. Okay, cool. So this is the fun part. And Dr. Bella, if you could help me here. You've kind of heard my 30-second elevator pitch at the beginning of this, but we're going to break up into small little pods. Let's do, I think the groups are going to be about 3 or 4 people. So let's do 3 groups, Dr. Bella. So that should put about 4 of us in each group.
Okay.
And we could just do a quick, about a 6-minute breakout and take about 2 minutes to think about your what, why, why are you interested in STEM and what has propelled you towards this field. And we're going to get 2 minutes to think about it when we break up into our pods, and then we'll take the last 4 to go ahead and present to the people in our group. Okay?
Hey, Robert, can you do me a small favor?
Yeah, for sure.
Can you go back to your original screen just so I can do a screenshot, your
Oh yeah, of
title
course.
screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect.
Okay, so we're getting ready to break out into 3 different rooms, and presenters are also going to be in those rooms with you. Is that okay, Robert? Is that good?
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
fantastic. So here we go. I'm pushing the button now.
Yeah, someone set a 6-minute timer in your group, and we'll go from there. Okay? Or we'll be back. Let's come back at 12:31. 12:31.
Awesome. All right, thanks. You should all have like a option now to move into your room.
Hey guys, is everyone back? No, we're still missing a few people.
No, we're still missing a few.
All right, we'll just wait for them
I
to hop
just,
back in.
yeah, I just sent everybody a message to come back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's good. Let them get into it and just get passionate about it.
Hey, it's so important to have a good elevator pitch.
Hmm.
So important. And literally, my elevator pitch worked in an elevator one time. Seriously, in an elevator. It worked in an
I've never
elevator.
had to do it in the elevator. I've never had to do it in the elevator.
I was at a meeting and there was he was the director of ARD, which is the Agriculture Research Center or director for the University of Utah. And so I had gone to this APLU meeting. And so I'm literally in the elevator and he's like, oh, it's very much a meeting for senior level executive administrators in higher ed. So lots of like people who are more seasoned than I am were there, right?
Mhm.
So he's just kind of like, oh, you seem young and up and coming. What
Green.
do you
You
do?
seem green.
Yeah. So literally in the elevator, gave my elevator pitch. And it turned into a presentation in Albuquerque for a regional meeting for ag directors, telling them about the research I did for my dissertation, which I thought was very cool.
That's
And then
awesome.
he was like, when are you ready to come to Utah so I can create a position for you? And I was
Oh
like, oh,
no,
cool, I'm coming now.
Utah.
But it was good. I know.
Hopefully Salt Lake City. No, Utah's cool. It's homie vibes. Is everybody back? I think so.
I'm not quite sure. Let me see.
Looks like we're missing one
Yes.
person.
Yeah, I think she left. I think she left
Okay,
the meeting. So we're good.
gotcha.
We're back.
No worries. She can watch the recording. So one of the good things about this, as I was mentioning to the group that I was in, is the beauty of getting your narrative out. It does start to help you figure out how you want to write your essay, but just talking to people, sharing your story can empower you. And you always think about STEM people. Sometimes people don't have the courage to go up and present, or you get some anxiety when you go up and speak. So it's important to just get this out. Practice with people, with your friends, family, colleagues, peers. Share your story and your narrative so that you have power in it. You can take power from your story and your purpose, so that you don't get that angst when you have to speak to, like Dr. Bella was saying, an executive in an elevator. Fortunately, I've never been in that situation. I've been in different situations, like when I'm at conferences and things like that. You're catching up with somebody and you have an informal kind of. It's always informal, but you might be walking to a presentation, you meet somebody, and like she said, you exchange business cards, but you leave an impression with them. And if they remember your purpose and your drive, that's probably going to leave a better impression than if you just leave kind of like a generic um, imprint on them. So it's always important just to talk about it for two reasons. So you get empowerment from your story, and so that you get used to kind of like speaking in public, so that if you have to do a conference and a presentation, you can be up there speaking on behalf of perspectives that might not always be represented. Okay. Does anybody want to share what their experience was kind of talking about themselves in the 30-second elevator pitch before we move on?
I realized I didn't necessarily know how to word my why. Like I can think of it in terms of a personal statement, but summarizing it within a matter of 30 seconds, actually about 10 seconds to give your why and then talk about it. I had a pretty difficult time with that.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, our group, we had Gazal, we had Catalina, and we had Yilda, and I think all of them did really great jobs of tying their interest into a broader community, whether it's helping children who are coming up engage in STEM, or affecting a community that's been impacted by disease or something of that nature. So they did a really great job of tying in their personal interest and their trajectory in STEM to a greater cause, which was I think important when you're thinking about writing statements and presenting yourself to somebody else. So with that, let's move on to the next section. Okay. Soft skills, thank you notes, networking, email etiquette, teamwork, problem solving, communication. These are all things that you want to present in your
Hey,
personal
Robert, just
statement.
a quick
Yeah.
thing. We are not seeing your screen.
Okay. That's right. Thank you so much. You guys are just staring at me, rubbing my hands.
Sure, cool.
No, that's not what we want. Okay. Give me a second. Let me bring Zoom back up and share the screen. It's just a generic slide anyway to introduce what we're going to kind of talk about. So, as I was stating, sorry, thank you notes, networking, email etiquette, teamwork, problem solving, communication. These are all types of soft skills that you can bring to the table that can help you move the needle in, again, making an impression and breaking that kind of like fourth wall. Like, if you guys watch Saved by the Bell or like TV shows where they have asides and they look at the audience and they talk to us, how can you kind of transcend just being on paper, right? You're going to send in an application and these people don't know you. How do you make an impact? Different ways to do that is by reaching out directly to people who are going to be reading the essays, people who are going to be um, actually involved in the selection committee, following up with emails, thank you notes, things of that nature. When you write your statements, always highlighting teamwork, your problem solving skills. These are things that are big picture that don't just relate to like one experience in the lab. They're going to want to be around people with good energy and people that they like. You want to work with people that you like. So conveying these things, being polite, having manners, and basically showing people that you're a team player, these things can help take you farther. um, One of the tools that I use is LinkedIn as a cheat code, right? So the last job I got, actually, I applied to the job and I was like, I don't want to just be a number. So how can I get a workaround to get in touch with my audience? And I found the recruiter on LinkedIn, and here I go. Typed them up a message. Hi, I just applied to your position. I see that you guys are really um, making an effort to engage, diverse communities, and you're hiring at the moment. So how can we use LinkedIn? And I'm going to show you guys my LinkedIn. Um, so the beauty of LinkedIn now is that it's evolved so much, and this is a free tool. This is free. It's a no cost. So what you want to do, you create your profile, you make sure you add your skills, and there's like cheat codes to LinkedIn as well. Um, Again, like you can reach out directly to a recruiter if you're interested in genetics jobs. I think we were talking about genetics in our group. You can just go ahead and type in genetics here and opportunities will come up. Companies will come up. You can start looking into the companies. Do they align with your morals, with your ethics? Do you want to be a part of that group? Let's see if there's jobs, if jobs come up. Do genetics jobs. Yep. Genetics and jobs. And you'll get all of these positions: data coordinator, talent acquisition coordinator, on-site recruiting assistant, operations associate, so genomic scientist. And this is a cheat code. You can go into this, you bring up the actual job description. They'll show you the summary of job responsibilities. They'll give you the breakdown. Job requirements. Do you meet the requirements? Don't always let the requirements stop you from applying. Apply sometimes. You never know if you're going to be able to break that threshold. But this can help you frame your LinkedIn so that you can have a better possibility, because as you guys know, algorithms are used heavily now. And if keywords aren't in your LinkedIn or on your resume or on your profile, you're not even going to get through the robot before you can get to the person. So what you want to do is go onto these job requirements, take some of these keywords. You can use it to infuse it into your actual profile. You can put it onto your resume if you actually have the experience doing it. LinkedIn gives you a section. Let me go back to my homepage. Gives you a section where you can add skills. I'm intermediate. Womp, womp, womp. So, but aside from that, it gives you a section where you can add skills. So let me take a look. Here it is, skills and endorsements. If you have a colleague that really enjoyed working with you, they can write you a recommendation here. I have a couple of recommendations, one from a colleague and one from one of the students I helped work on an MPA. He got into UCLA, he got into Brandeis, he got into a couple of different programs. So if you work with somebody and you're excited about that partnership, that relationship, you can ask them for recommendations on LinkedIn. And this is like a living resume and a living, essentially, it's a living tool that you can always update. Um, but to go back to this skill section, you can add new skills here. And based on those job descriptions that you're viewing, when you view the genetics job position, you can add those skills here. So when you apply to the job, which you can probably do directly through LinkedIn now, which is what I did for that position that I ended up getting. Um, not in Hobbs, in jobs. When you apply to that job, you can apply directly through LinkedIn. You bypass the algorithm, so to speak, because you have the keywords. And then on top of that, you go to the recruiters for this company. So let's see, which one was it? Let's just pick a random one. Data coordinator for green resources, right? So this is green resources, and we can do green resources, staffing and recruiting. You find a recruiter, you can reach out to that recruiter directly. All of a sudden, you're no longer just a piece of paper. This recruiter might actually say, oh, okay, this person had the initiative and the gusto to kind of like reach out personally. Let me see if I can find their application and bring it through if it didn't go through the initial quote unquote algorithm process, you know? So this is a pretty cool way to maximize LinkedIn, to tap into it and just reach out to different people. It might not even be somebody that is in STEM. It could be somebody in education and they bring you on to do a presentation later, or you guys collaborate, you know, using different resources. So LinkedIn is an amazing tool that people don't use enough, that a lot of generations are just like, they think of it like as a business, sorry, Facebook for business, and it's not that. It's really more like intricate than Facebook. So that's how you can learn about your audience in terms of like investigating the company, digging into what their requirements are and tailoring your personal resume to what's actually going to be asked of you. Okay. So I think that's a bit of a cheat code. I hope that's helpful. Obviously, you go to the company sites, read about their ethics, see if they're working on projects that you care about, university websites, just going onto job boards, research boards, fellowships, things like that. I did a quick Google search before this, you know, just generic like minority fellowships for STEM, and I came up with, you know, profellow.com. And again, they're hitting hard on females in STEM, but it came up with 26 different fellowships and grants that would be available to people from marginalized communities or who are underrepresented in STEM. So just doing these types of researches, using your resources, talking to Dr. Bella, talking to uh, Kimberly York regarding opportunities that are coming up in the department, what types of companies might be recruiting. So you can start investigating those companies and see how you can tailor your experience to their needs. Okay. And again, I'll share these resources, these links and things like that. Um, but as you can see, Ford Foundation Fellowships, Facebook Emerging Scholars Award, American Indian Grants, GEM, Graduate Education and Professorate Fellowships. And the important thing is to look into these things and what companies offer, because a lot of people will want to go with the name brand, kind of like school or reputation. And yeah, that is important. But at the same time, there's a lot of like local companies that will fund you if you um, if you're an engineer at a smaller program. One student that comes to mind is a student I work with here at in North Carolina. He goes to the University of Pembroke, and Pembroke has specific. It's not a huge name. It doesn't have a huge reputation, but he's going there. His grants meet his needs, so he's not paying anything really to be at the school. But there's actually engineering programs and engineering companies that are working with the school to create pipelines for North Carolinians to fill the jobs that they have and they need. So it's about looking at those opportunities as well when you're investigating what you're going to chase and what you want to explore. Okay, perfect. All right, and here my victim, Corrine Banuelos. So highlighting research experience and the value of it. I want to start by bringing up her resume and just showing you guys. I think I blocked out her address. I hope so. We're gonna find out. Yes, I did. Yay. Okay, perfect. Sample name. So this is one of my close friends, Corrine, and she applied to the nursing program at UCLA, and we worked on her resume because it was kind of light. She really um, didn't know how to articulate her actual experience and what she had. So we started with her education. It's a really crisp, clean, basic resume template. Um, Start with her objective. She wants to be a nurse practitioner. She has 4 years of experience as a histopathologist, a lab tech. So I didn't know what that was. And then she told me she was working with dead bodies a lot. And I got freaked out a little bit, but it was pretty cool. I was like, wow, I never thought that that's the path you were going to take. But now she's pursuing becoming a nurse practitioner. Ultimately, she wants to lead a team of nurses so that she can have that impact on Latino communities. And you guys will see a little bit more of that in her personal statement. So I'll just scroll down. Um, Cool thing about her, she's continued her education beyond, she has a non-traditional academic path. So the Cal State system, California, is a little bit flooded with students who want to go to college, which is a great thing, but the system is overwhelmed. So there aren't enough schools and they don't offer enough courses at the same time to basically push kids through. So she had an 8-year journey, which was basically 6 years jumping around from different community colleges so that she could finally earn her associates and then transfer to UC Irvine and get her bachelor's in biology. So her story, you guys will see that in her narrative. And now she's continued her education. She's doing online courses through Johns Hopkins to advance her like nursing expertise. So we wanted to highlight that. She didn't even have that on her resume. Um, she missed out a couple of things. So how do we find out the relevant coursework? We looked at what the UCLA, that's her target school, that's her dream school. We looked at what UCLA was stating that was important uh, in applicants. So we went to UCLA's website, we brought that up, we found the information that they want from experience that they want from their candidates, and we matched it with what she had actually done. So then we were able to list her relevant coursework. And then we went on to her professional experience, which was also light because she didn't know how to frame it. And the way that we framed her personal experience, we basically went into the job description. So again, even if you use LinkedIn, you go into the job description and use the actual language that is provided by the company if you don't know how to articulate it properly. And we condensed it, we minimized it, we cleaned it up so that it could fit. And she was like, but shouldn't your resume only be one page? I was like, you know what? This is your dream opportunity. You better put everything on the page and the paper that looks neat, it looks nice, but you better leave it all out there. You don't want to leave any stone unturned because when you're applying to things, they only know what you tell them. If you don't tell them anything, if you only put one page on here, like for instance, hers, if she only did one page, she would have only had her experience at Kaiser, which doesn't do her service in terms of her experience and her full 8-year experience chasing this dream of being a histopathologist. So, people will tell you, make your resume one page. Yeah, okay. Um, just make sure you clean it up, even if it's more than one page. We kept hers at 2 pages. Um, Make sure it's relevant and it's concise and it's clear and it's clean so that people who read it don't feel like you're wasting their time with just a bunch of like extracurricular activities. Oh, I did a marathon for the for a blood drive 3 times and you're listing it over and over. No, like make sure it's impactful, make sure it's clean, concise, and that it's telling the narrative of who you are. And for her, it was this narrative of service and dedication to her community, and you can see that here, and it's tied into her personal statement. So with that, she also gave me the permission to show you guys her personal statement. She had two. One of them was I believe it's the actual personal statement, and then the other one is the, bring them up, statement of purpose. So they make you write two, and I was like, okay, it's kind of the same thing, but they're different. So let's see if I can bring them up and share with you guys. And I'll let you guys read them. And again, just at the end of reading these, just open it up to people saying, do you see her what? Do you see her why? Did you feel it was something that was articulated properly? Would you want to work with her? So I can go back and tell her, no, they don't want to work with you. You're terrible. All right. One moment, please. Just want to make sure we can get these essays up because they're not populating for me. And I want to be mindful of time too. I think I have. Okay, and hers are a little longer, so what I'll do is, let me get this out of the way. I don't want to see myself. There we go. Okay. So this is her initial statement, her grad school statement, which is just the personal statement. And then the second one is the statement of purpose. So I'll bring them both up. I'll give us a chance to take a look at them. And then, like I said, bring the group back and we can discuss a little bit what you see in it. All right, here we go. So let's start with this one. And again, I'll give about 3 minutes to read this. About a minute in, I'll scroll down, or let's see how much we can actually fit in. Sorry, why am I doing this? Help. There we go, full screen. All right, guys. So I'll scroll down in about 45 seconds, let you guys read a little bit, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys, I'm gonna leave about 1 more minute, 30 more seconds for this personal statement, and then I'll go over to the other one. Okay, I hope that's been enough time to take a look at this one. I'm gonna show you guys the other one. Okay, guys, about, let's say 15 more seconds on this one, and then we'll regroup, okay? Okay. All right, let's bring it back in. Let me just see. I feel kind of technology illiterate right now. Okay, just go back to, okay. All righty. Okay, I'm just gonna stop the share to come back. I hope that was helpful. I'm gonna reshare my screen, but I hope that was helpful. Um, does anybody want to maybe point out what they felt were some highlights in her statements, or anything that stood out to you? No? Okay. Hope I didn't
Yeah, I
linger too
can say
long.
something if someone is not saying, because I feel that I'm the one talking. Sorry. You can
No,
say
go
you're
for
not
it.
allowed, Matheus. You talked before.
No, Mateus, please. Engagement is encourages engagement from others. So go for it.
I felt that's so much more personal and brings so much more her experience in a more personal way. So we create like a immediately connection with her journey, even if she doesn't know her. So we got the idea of like her skills and also all her path and how valuable it was to build how she is as a researcher, as a worker. So I think that was very interesting. It really catch my attention.
Mhm. Would anyone
And
else
I'm
like
gonna
to share? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in on that because definitely we saw in her resume, we see her skills and her experience on the professional level and her training, right? And so that's really important, an important piece. But then when we come to the personal statement and the statement of purpose, we see the passion and the why, right? It's not just the what, it's the why at that point. And I think that's so powerful because when you see her, I thought her purpose, the last statement we read, not only highlighted her training and her capacity to engage in her field, but also her initiative and how she improves situations because she cares about patients, right? So it's a complete story and it's really powerful.
Awesome. And that's what we worked for. That's what we're striving for when we worked with Karine, because her GPA did take a dip, and it was, she had to explain that a little bit. So it was like, okay, let's explain a little bit why your GPA took a dip, why that might not look as strong, but you've bounced back, and now your resume also shows that you've continued to improve with the John Hopkins stuff. And to your point, highlighting that initiative she took, I think it was when she became the lead phlebotomist and she changed procedures. We made sure to highlight something like that to give a concrete example of how she had actually improved a procedure at a place that she worked. Um, Again, we borrowed language from the UCLA page about some of the skills that they wanted, tossed it in there just to make sure it was reflected, but definitely trying to create her story. And one of the things, and I always used to tell Elijah this and all the students that I worked with them, are you happy with this? Does this feel like your authentic self? Is this a story that you're proud of? Is this a statement that you're proud of? So that win, lose, or draw, regardless of what happens, you're satisfied and you know that you put your best foot forward, and that's all you can do, you know? Present yourself in the best way, do the networking skills, do the little cheats, try to get ahead, but also just know that you presented an authentic self that you're proud of to reflect who you are on this paper, for sure. All right, so let me speed it up. I got a few more seconds left, a few more minutes left, I think, before I turn it over to Elijah. So, and I think I did see in the messages that if we can make these available to people, yes, of course, we'll share these documents so you guys have them as reference. And also, what liked Karine's essays, because again, they were more qualitative. It was more of a personal story. And to Dr. Bella's point, we were really technical and cerebral in how we did the resume, so that she shows her technical skills, the science, the STEM part of things, and then in her personal statements, we highlighted the story, the journey, which got her there, which was, I think, pretty effective. So,
I had a really quick question to add.
mhm.
I guess when you are applying for a job, they tell you to be very careful about the things that you say about your life, for instance, being a mother and things like that. Do you recommend, like, for a personal statement in terms of an internship, is that something that you should discuss?
Yeah, I think it's different for applying to internships versus applying to a graduate program.
Okay.
Definitely, if it's a part of your narrative, I guess it depends on the company. That's where doing that research and seeing the, learning your audience and who's going
Okay.
to be reviewing your documents. That's where
Okay.
it's important to kind of gauge that and investigating who's the recruiter. Is it somebody who's going to be able to imprint with a story that's more qualitative? Is it somebody who maybe shares like a similar identity or background to you?
Okay.
Maybe they're not. Maybe it's somebody who's more technical, more logistical,
Right.
and tailoring that is important as well. And it's one of the things that I worked with the college students in Elijah's group. We would look up the admissions officer for their community. So, like, let's say with Stanford, and Stanford has people for SoCal, they have people for New Mexico, they have people for New York. We would look up the individual who was in charge of that um, region. We would look at their LinkedIn's. We would, find some articles about them on Google and just get a feel for who they were. So we would know how to approach them when we wrote an email, when we wrote our personal statements, when I reached out to them personally to advocate for the students. It's these little details that help you tailor and adjust your personal statement or your statements for jobs, your cover letters
Okay.
for different positions. If you're applying to a nonprofit that focuses on teaching comp sci to underrepresented Latina females in, let's say, El Paso or something like that, then yeah, you definitely want to highlight your background and your trajectory. If maybe you're applying to, let's say, LabCorp, and it really is to be a histopathologist, maybe sharing too much details about that might not be relevant, and you want to highlight more your technical lab skills. So it's just
Okay.
tailoring it to your audience. I hope that's clarifying for that.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. And this is a resource. Again, these final two slides are just resources. This one is from Amherst College, where we spent a beautiful summer. It was great. It's just a PDF document that helps you understand that what and why, the reverse outlining, so you don't focus too much on your technical writing skills and being concerned with is it grammatically correct. First and foremost, you want to focus on your what and your why, your purpose, and your reason, right? So this is a tool that I'm going to make available to you guys, and it's just a tool to kind of like reflect on how, when you're writing your statements or when you're um, writing cover letters or personal statements, whatever it might be, you can again portray that passion, portray that dedication, portray a value that is going to help somebody remember you on paper that isn't just formulaic. Um, so I'll share this with uh, Dr. Bella, and she can share everything out with you guys. And on top of that, the other thing I encourage is Grammarly. I don't know if you guys have heard of Grammarly. I'm gonna bring that up real quick just to show you guys how flooded it is with everything that I do. So I always tell people that I work with, don't worry about the grammar. Just go for the gusto, write the best story you can, try to convey your narrative, be authentic, and then we can work on the transitions, we can work on the storytelling, or we can work on the structure and the grammar afterwards. But a tool that was really helpful in helping, it's always helpful for me, I always use it as my go-to, is Grammarly. Let me just bring up a page. And I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's basically uh, an editing resource that's free. You can buy the premium version. But if you don't have the funds to buy the premium version, show you this. This is just another statement working with a student on his addendum, why his GPA was lower. Grammarly will, you copy, you paste, you put it in here, and it'll tell you your basic errors. And then obviously if you want to go premium, it'll tell you your major errors. It underlines the major errors in yellow, basic errors in red. And you can go through this for grammatic technical issues to help you clean up your essays. And you can reverse engineer too if you don't have the funds to pay for the premium one. You can basically look at this and rewrite it, tweak it a little bit. It helps you get better at writing and conveying your picture. And as you can see here, when you initially set these up, it'll ask you who's the audience. Is it a professional audience? Is it a technical audience? Is this informative? Is this formal, informal? It'll ask you for the setting of your statement or what you're writing. And as you're writing it and you're editing it, it'll tell you here on the right side, it'll tell you how your delivery is coming out. Is it engaging? Is it, boring? Are you being too colloquial? It'll give you a lot of feedback in real time to help your writing kind of get to the next level. So I'll make sure I get all these documents out to all of you guys. I know Elijah is up next with the STAR interview process, so I want to be mindful of that. But I'll make sure all of these slides are shared with you guys. The documents are shared with you guys. I do have permission to share the resume and share the personal statement. So I'll make sure you guys have access to all of this to reference and just have it in your repertoire. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And
Yeah.
again, my name was Robert. I hope that was helpful. It was my pleasure being here, and I'll hand it off to Dr. Bella so she can get us to the next one.
Robert, will
Great.
we be able to get your contact information?
Yeah, for sure. I'll make sure I give that to Dr. Bella, and I'll share all that information with you guys, and you guys will have it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robert. That was an incredible presentation. I took some really important stats away from that, as well as some really practical information to even work on my own documents as I continue through my career pathway, right? And so I just wanted to just point out some of the things that were so important that you said at the very beginning of your presentation. I think what stood out to me the most is being straightforward in your documents and telling your story in a way that makes your authentic self shine through, something that you're comfortable with, and that gives people an impression about who you are, not just what you're capable of accomplishing, but also who you are in that process. I also took away that 84% of STEM professionals are white males, and that is a lot of white males in one space, right? Mm-hmm. And so the need for moving our purpose forward as a chapter, as the SACNAS chapter, as Black Programs at NMSU, to diversify the STEM enterprise is just absolutely evident by that. And so just want to thank you for being here with us to kind of reiterate the importance of the work that we're doing, not only here today, but always, right? And then the other thing that stood out to me was the wage gap, right? So the $15,900 wage gap between men and women in STEM. That's a lot of money. $15,000 can buy you a cute little Prius sometimes, right? So that's the cost of a car, right? Mm-hmm. On an annual basis, that's a lot of cars. So thinking about that and moving forward about our training and how we begin to form our chapter, I think that's something that's super important as we move forward to learn how to negotiate as women and as people of color entering into a space that is predominantly not diverse, right? It's not a diverse space. And so that's another skill set that we definitely need to develop within ourselves and our students, is the ability to negotiate at the table and to really start closing that gap, right? And then the loss of 12% of women in computer science, that's huge too, right? Mm-hmm. So I am really thrilled that we are surrounded by computer scientists here. We have a lot of computer scientists and people who are just completely into like the techie space. I'm learning techie stuff, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so not techie. And it's just, we're in a good space at New Mexico State where the computer science world, the data management world is something that is available to us. And so making good use of those resources to kind of develop our skills in that space is really super important. But the entire presentation was so super informative, and we really appreciate you spending some time with us and sharing your golden nuggets with us today.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yes, if I could echo all of what Dr. Bella has shared with regards to those statistics. And I think that it speaks volumes to the appreciation that I have, and I'm sure Dr. Bella and anybody that is underrepresented in the STEM field, for the engineering department, as well as the Halliburton Fund, for supporting efforts like this, because it brings about the awareness. I had never seen that 84% number is astounding. That is that I had never seen that number before. So thank you for shedding light. And I also think, like Dr. Bella said, you know, as a professional myself, I also have gained some very valuable takeaways, even though I'm not in the STEM department. I think that your emphasis on creating a balance between the qualitative and the quantitative is extremely important. And I think that oftentimes going into situations, we think one way. And we're kind of single focused in our approach at presenting ourselves. And so thank you so much, Robert. This was valuable, very much so valuable. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, y'all. It was my pleasure. It was amazing. And I think this is a great community to be a part of. And you guys said it at the beginning. This is the way that we create the safe space, that we engage people, that we bring people in, make them feel welcome. And that's the most important part. That's how we open doors for people. That's how we keep people here. So it was my pleasure.
Thank you again. So now we have, we're going to be going over the STAR method for interviewing. And we have Elijah Vela, the amazing Elijah Vela from Stanford University, sharing his experience and knowledge with us today. You're on
All
mute.
right. Yes,
there you
give
go.
me just a second to get my slides up and I will, and I'll get us started. All right. Okay. All right. Let me know if you guys can see this. Is that, can I get a thumbs up for the slides?
Yes, we can see.
Fantastic. Great. Well, as has been stated several times, my name is Elijah Vela, and I'm gonna tackle this. I'm gonna help you tackle behavioral interviews today. The interview process is something that is super common. You'll see everywhere. We're gonna go over how to just sort of get to that first round of interviews. Basically, how to really give really effective, really powerful narratives that'll show your people you're interviewing with your real skills and your abilities. Now, I say behavioral interviewing in particular, and you might wonder, well, what is this thing that you're talking about, behavioral interviewing? It boils down to any sort of type of interviewing that asks you to share a story. We have I have a technical definition here. It's kind of long, but the important parts that you want to notice is that you're drawing on past experiences, providing specific examples, and demonstrating particular skills, knowledge, and abilities. And this is from the Society for Human Resource Management. Here's some examples of some behavioral interview questions. You'll see a lot of times the questions are like, tell me about a time when, or give me an example of type questions. These two at the bottom are bolded because they're really the most common questions you'll hear. Another way you might hear them phrased is like, give me an example of a time where you achieved success, or give me an example of a time where you failed and how did you recover? And those two are super common, so you really want to have something prepared beforehand, even for these two questions in particular. And then we're going to talk about how you actually go about answering these questions when they're posed to you, using something called the STAR method, which is just a framework for formatting your answers to these questions that gives a really succinct but impactful narrative. The STAR in STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and response, or results. I don't, those actually, I said put response here, but it's result. That's a typo on my part. And we're gonna break that down a little more here. So the situation part is just the background for your anecdote that you're giving. You're basically just setting up what the stakes were, any sort of important details that give context to the story. You want to make sure you're concise here. You don't want to add in any fluff. You just want to give the important parts of the story. Then after you've really set up the background, your next step is to give the task. This is just the beforehand, like what was your objective, what was your goal, and what was your particular role in this story that you're posing. Then you have the action. This is the bulk of the answer here. This is all about what you actually did, any specific steps you took, and how you contributed. And this is like really where you get to shine. Talk about really, the things in particular that you did that like solved this problem or that made this project successful. And I'll hit it again. You want to make sure you're specific here. Make sure you're giving particular examples. Was there any software that you used? Was there like a particular framework your team was working on? How many people did you have at your team? What were the resources at your disposal? And then after you hit that action part, you want to end on the result, which is just what was the outcome and what impact did you make? I think this is arguably the most important part of your story, where you're really showing like how what you did made a difference. If you can, you really want to quantify the result here, and you want to give a particular number. Like instead of saying, "Oh, we grew, our number of clients grew," you want to say, "We gained 20 new clients," or "Our membership increased." You want to say instead, our membership increased by 20%. You want to actually give particular numbers to how you were successful. That's just a basic rundown of the STAR method. That's pretty much all it is. It's really simple. It's meant just to make sure you don't run over time, make sure you aren't rambling, make sure that you really shine during these interviews. Real quick, we have some quick little tips. You might want to have several anecdotes prepared beforehand when you're doing these interviews. You want to maybe have beforehand thought up of your greatest successes, times when you learned the most, times when you really shined, and have those stories that ready to go in your back pocket so that you can tweak them to any questions your interviewers might ask during the interview process. And then my tip number 2 is don't be afraid to ask for a minute to think during the interview. You definitely don't want to come out the gate with a really half-formed answer, especially if you're caught off guard. It can be really tempting to just start going, so you're filling the blank space. But you don't be intimidated by that silence. You can ask the interviewer to even just come back to a question that they asked if you don't have anything ready to go. This is definitely not, you can take maybe 10 or 15 seconds to think if you're posing a really tough question, for sure. That's it. That's really the bulk of the STAR question. Before we move on, do we have any like particular questions? Anything you want me to go over again? I'll take that as a no. Fantastic. I'll go ahead and give a real quick example. That's my sort of go-to for tell me about a time when you were successful. And then I'll try to point out where each of the STAR falls in my particular anecdote here. So in my senior year of high school, I was the captain for the programming and captain for my school's robotics team. That year, we decided we were going to build our own, design and build our own sensor system, which is a really ambitious goal, given that we usually only have 6 weeks and we usually only have enough time to just get the basic robot code working. Also that year, our programming team was spread really thin, so it was just me and one other programmer who had never touched code before. So in addition to getting our basic functionality working, delving into new ground that we'd never touched before, I also had to train up a new person to be able to work with me this whole build season. So we got to work. While in the beginning stages of the process, while the electrical team on our robotics team was working on building the physical part of the sensors so that we could start programming them later in the build season, I started training this newer programmer, getting him up to speed on the basic stuff so that he could work on the basic stuff while I did the research to try to figure out how to get this new stuff working. After that, I did a bunch of research into how the sensors worked, how to take all the sensor raw data and make it into something meaningful that the robot could use to auto position. That was our sort of goal there, was to get the robot to automatically position. And then we also had to figure out how to get that once the robot had that information, how it was going to use that information to make meaningful decisions. So we worked with, I did a lot of research on my end, just looking up stuff on the computer and looking into like code bases, trying to understand the code libraries that I had at my disposal. I also worked with some of the mentors for the team that had experience in robotics programming. And they helped me develop the software that helped the robot make these meaningful decisions on the field. And at the end of the day, at both of our competitions that we went to, the sensor system that we designed won an award. They gave out an award at each competition for a team who shows excellence in software design and uses sensors and programming and computers in some sort of innovative way. And at both competitions that we went to that year, our sensor system won that award. That's it. That's that quick story. You'll see that at the beginning we sort of set up the stakes. Short time period. We were under a lot of pressure, and I had very little. A few resources at my disposal. But I was able to use those resources well, and I worked hard under pressure. And at the end, I won these 2 different awards after at the end of the day. And that one anecdote was really meaningful to me, and that's why I share it all the time. And so I feel like I'm able to really speak to my passions there. So that was my story. I'll again open it up for questions in case you guys have anything you want to ask me while we're here before we go into like a breakout room activity. Cool. If we're good, then I think that was the end. Yeah, that's the end of that presentation. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ask it. We can get broken up into, I think, groups of 4 again, and then try to I guess like if you haven't met the people in your breakout room, just go ahead and quickly do some introductions, and then take a minute to think of an answer to either the how were you successful, or tell me about a success, or tell me about a time where you failed and you recovered. And then after that, I'd say take about maybe 2 or 3 minutes to think of that. And then after that, come back and everybody share their answer to those questions and try to employ the STAR method as best as you can.
So we have 1 room of 4 and 2 rooms of 3. Is that okay? Or would you rather have 2 rooms of 4 or 2 rooms of 5?
No, 3 is good. 3 and 4 is good.
3 and 4. Okay,
yeah.
Wonderful. So y'all should be getting that message now to go into your breakout rooms.
I think I missed my breakout room.
Okay, let me see.
Sorry.
Moved. No, you're good. Let me see. I don't know how to do this though. I don't know how to move you because it says you've just not joined. You don't have a message there?
No.
Okay, I'm just gonna move you to a different room. Did you get a message now?
Not yet.
Huh, that's so weird. Okay, I don't know how to move you in. Do you have any idea how to do this? Because I'm lost.
I'm more confused on Zoom than I feel like anyone at the university.
Okay, let me see. So I don't know where the message comes to. I think it's like at the chat. Did you happen to reject a message by chance or reject a move?
I don't think so, but I don't know Zoom, so
Yeah,
that's within the realm of possibility.
don't know where the message pops up though. Doop, 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 doop. Okay, let me see. Bop, bop, bop. Where are you? No, I don't know how to. I don't think I can force you into a room, and I think I've sent the message the only way I know how.
Okay, let
But
me try
I don't
something on
think I
my
can
end.
put you in there. Okay,
We'll see if this works or not.
sounds good. And if not, let me
Oh,
keep
here we
playing
go.
around here.
I got
Okay,
it.
perfect.
I'm
Great.
so sorry.
No, you're good. It's all you.
It's us again.
Yes.
Whoa.
Now we're in the room. We are leading the party.
Yeah, it's all we got it all to ourselves.
We have the floor just for us. Like,
Yeah, and you can really stretch out in here. It really feels bigger.
I think they're recording.
Oh, they are recording. You're correct.
Oh yeah.
That's all in. That's all in the recording. Fantastic.
we didn't say any curse word or anything like that. So.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. We're all good on the recording. Nothing. Nothing sketchy for sure. Welcome back, folks. We're just waiting for everybody else to get out of the breakout room. We'll convene again. Very
Are
shortly.
the breakout rooms recorded as well?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh man, we had such a rich conversation.
I
Oh,
think
man.
I think you can record the breakout room, but you need to click record again.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Are we all back?
I think we are.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
Great.
So it's all yours.
Great. Yeah, I just really wanted to just quickly go over just sort of like a debrief if anybody wants to share what the conversation was like in their room, in their breakout room. Like anybody has any stories they wanted to share with the whole group.
I would like to share. Our group, we had a very rich conversation centered. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Elizabeth, do you want to share first?
Sure.
Okay.
We were discussing about the failures, and I wasn't sure if what I considered a failure, a personal failure, was considered to be, I guess, a failure. And just to give an example, I was saying that all my life um, I was brought up to believe that I should be in medical school, and I worked for many years getting the prerequisites and majoring in biology, going for a paramedic license, just thinking that I needed that experience. And about halfway through everything, I realized that it was not what I wanted to do. And as a single mom, working and basically trying to get an education to provide for my child, I decided to change my major and do something completely different, which basically, started me over all over as if I had just graduated from high school. And I went into public health, and now I'm a graduate student. And I love what I do. I love my passion. I love, I love that, everything I have, I do it with a lot of passion. And I really do enjoy working in the field that I do and engaging with others and basically teaching them how to advocate for themselves. And I think about the comments my family has made in the past, saying, well, if you stuck with medical school, you wouldn't have to be struggling to find a job, or like you would be out of school already, but I wouldn't be happy. And so that was a personal challenge that I went through. It was disheartening. It was devastating. And for me, I felt as if, a failure because I took, the opportunity to work, and I couldn't provide for my daughter. And but it wasn't the case. Now looking at it in retrospect, if someone would have told me like, you'll be fine, it would have been a much easier decision, but it wasn't. And so for me, that was a failure. But Miss York did not let me feel that way.
Yeah, I was sharing that, oftentimes, when we are younger, we think about failure as this terminal diagnosis and this just there's no repentance from failure. There's no recovering from failure. But I have come to learn that failure is a part of the process. It's a part of success. And if we're not failing, that means that we're playing it too safe. And that also means that we are not truly trying to be our most authentic selves, right? And so, Dr. Bella and I, we have conversations all the time about, just where we are in our careers and just, like, well, what if this doesn't go right? Or what if and so you need to always understand that it's going to happen. It's the inevitable. And if it doesn't happen, something's not right. Something's not, you're not being genuine, because you're supposed to fail and fail often so that you can but when you do fail, you need to fail forward. And that's exactly what Elizabeth has done. And failing means that you get to do it a different way, right? And so I have had to turn, think about in my own career, thinking about, changes. I know Elizabeth in our group shared about, changing careers and, that authenticity to what you're passionate about, and so, and I know that Edmundo also shared, just about, being a first generation college student and how that can also impact how you do what you do in terms of always wanting to please other people. We talked about that a lot in our group, about wanting to please other people and just how detrimental that can be, not only to your mental health, but to your wallet, because it doesn't make sense. Sally Mae and all of those other funding sources, they don't care that you're miserable. They want their money. So if you got to pay somebody, you may as well pursue something you like doing.
Yeah. I think I think the cool part is that we had similar conversations in separate breakout rooms, because Ghazal shared her story and it was about rejection and failure. It was about no's, getting no's, and then finally asking enough and touching with different people and touching with different bases until you got the yes. And then Dr. Vela said it perfectly. In science, that's science. Science is trial and error, and she said it perfectly. You get one yes for every 10 no's, right? And she gave a perfect example of one of her funding, her colleagues who has the most funding, who had to resubmit something 6 times before they said yes. And it's true, like you're not taking enough risk, or you're not being your authentic self if you're not failing. So I think it's beautiful that we had the same kind of conversation in different pods. It's pretty cool.
That's really powerful. So Elizabeth, I just want to share this with you because it's not uncommon coming from our communities, right? Where doctors are elevated, right? Medical doctors are like at the very top of our our society, right? And so a lot of times we get the pressure as high achieving students, we get pressure from family to like, oh, go into the medical field, become a doctor, become a doctor. That's what I heard always growing up, was become a doctor or become a lawyer, right? And it was always become a doctor, become a lawyer. Those were my career options, as if I would have followed the pathway that my family was setting for me. And what's really interesting is Edmundo and I worked together for the HSI STEM Hub, and we just published our first podcast on diversity, equity, and inclusion in STEM. And our guest panelist, his name is Alexis Racelis, and Dr. Racelis is a great ecologist out of University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. And his story was, I have failed my family. My family still sees me as like I didn't meet the mark because I'm not a medical doctor. And I'm not a medical doctor because I like being outside and I like science from outside. So I became an ecologist, right? And so it's not uncommon. So don't feel alone in that journey where where you think like, oh, it's only me that feels this way. I think it happens quite often in our communities, and failure is not what we are. We've actually charted our own pathway to success.
Thank you so much for that. That's very inspirational. Thank you.
Awesome conversations. Thank you everybody who shared. This was super inspiring. Like I feel like I learned so much from you guys. It's incredible. Cool. If anybody else wants to share any other stories that they had in their rooms, we have some more time. Otherwise, that's the end of my portion.
Thank you so much, Elijah. I know that oftentimes, I operate from a stance that I believe that we are supposed to invest in young emerging professionals. And I think that in the STEM field and even in other fields, I think that that is something that we have to do better at. And, it's one thing to say that we support young emerging professional, but it's another thing to invest and to provide opportunities like this to share. And so thank you so much, Elijah. We truly appreciate you. And I would like to make sure that we can keep you connected and considered as a resource for our students in our department. And I want to say this to everyone that I recognize that at the beginning of the start of this session that I should have pointed out my number one plight as interim director right now of Black Programs is to make sure that I am sending a very clear message that our name is very misleading and we are welcoming and encouraging all students to participate in Black Programs. We don't care what your nationality is, what your race is. We don't care what you identify. We don't care where you are in life. You are welcome in Black Programs. And I am on a mission to diversify Black programs. While yes, we are charged with recruiting and retaining, Black students. All students are a part of our reach, and I'm going to continue to reach across, and we're going to continue to collaborate with SACNAS and to continue to collaborate with the HSI STEM and Dr. Vella. And so this means a lot to me when we think about failure. Sometimes we look at numbers and who's not showing up for these type of things as opposed to focusing on the quality. And I have to say that this is heartwarming for me because it is very authentic and you all are not here because someone told you you had to be here. And I believe that we have to make these connections to keep ourselves encouraged and energized. And so I want to say thank you. And then I have another favor to ask at the end, but I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Vella.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Just same. I just want to echo her words, Ms. Kim's words. We really have been incredibly fortunate to have you all join us here today. And I'm talking about our presenters, and I'm also talking about our students that are on the call as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for giving up a couple hours of your Saturday to really learn something valuable that can help move our community forward, right? I always talk to Elijah about this, and in fact, we talked about this yesterday about we are so fortunate and privileged to engage in some of the trainings that we get as part of SACNAS, as part of Black Programs, as part of Stanford University, as part of SCS Noonan Scholars, right? And we always should endeavor to share that wealth of knowledge with folks who are not in the same spaces we're in, right? And so I would encourage everybody here today to continue working to share the knowledge. You've gained some new knowledge today. Let's share that knowledge as broadly as we can with other folks and use that knowledge as best as we can to advance our community of SACNAS community, our community of Aggies, our community of Latinx folks, our community of Black folks, like every people of color just uniting together and moving forward our communities into better spaces is what I'm passionate about. And I know that you all are part of SACNAS and part of Black Programs because you're also passionate about that. So thanks again. And I appreciate you all being here. And I don't have any more words. So Ms. Kim has a request of us. So we'll see what that entails. Thanks.
Hold on, you know how I am, Dr. Bella. But no, seriously. So I would like to ask all of us, and we can take a couple minutes to kind of think about this, but I want to end this in a very non-traditional way, and that's just who I am. I would like for us to individually send, say, a message of some sorts to one, the engineering department, and also to the Halliburton fund who is funding this, because oftentimes funders don't get to hear the impact that their initiatives are having on smaller communities. Yes, there's always an emphasis on the larger numbers, but it would do my heart some good, as well as it would also provide an opportunity for our funders and our supporters, the foundation, to hear directly from you all and even our presenters about the value of their ongoing support of initiatives like this. So if anybody wants to start, go for it.
I'll start. So today's session really spoke to me personally as a professional in STEM, even beyond, being beyond graduate school and being beyond internships. As a professional in STEM, it's always important to continue to brush those soft skills that we talked about so much today. We touched on a lot of opportunities and the strategies for being more competitive in our spaces. And so not only for me as an individual and as a professional will I take those skills forward, but I also have more tools in my toolbox to better equip students that come here next year or in the future, to continue to equip students who are in STEM for being more competitive in all spaces.
Yeah, just to follow up with that, thank you to the Halliburton for supporting an initiative that is about diversifying STEM. As I showed with some of those stats, like we're needed. We're needed in a lot of different fields. And for me, I'm not in STEM. I do the more qualitative side, writing and things like that. But I love working with passionate people and meeting people who have dreams and are ambitious from our communities. And it feeds me. So I hope that the energy here in this room goes forward to reach out to other people, to share the information, to just keep engaging and supporting ourselves, because sometimes you do feel siloed. So it's great to have these support groups and know that you're not alone in what you're going through and experiencing. And like we said, there's going to be some failures, but keep bouncing back. And just thank you to the engineering department for bringing this together and inviting me and inviting Elijah and bringing all of us together to talk and go over this, because that's what it's about. It's about supporting each other and helping us open doors and maybe wedge our foot in. So thanks to everybody who was here and sharing their narratives. It was great, and it was my privilege to be here with you guys.
I would like to say thank you, because it is through initiatives like this that I'm able to progress in my field and try and minimize the gap of knowledge between what I see at other universities across the country and like minority institutions like HSIs and HBCUs. And it really makes an impact, because when I was trying to apply to my first internship, I had none of this. And it showed. And it was only through going out of my way to like look up this information, to look up initiatives like this, to participate, which took a lot of time out of my education and my learning, to just search the internet. And so it's truly important and it's truly valued, and there are no words for how much this information just truly helps of being presented to you in a little gift wrapped box. So thank you.
I also would like to say thank you to the sponsors to allowing us to have this event. And I think it's not only about STEM, it's about connection and connecting with people that we have similar values. So we are here because we believe in diversity and representation. And so I work on the promotion of the event, and every time someone's signing, I'm like, yes, one more person that will be connected, we are learn from, and we are sharing this knowledge. So thank you for this space.
Definitely. Thank you all for granting us this opportunity. I learned a lot and I'm so thankful that I was able to connect with others. And I think I've made a couple new friends and I'm excited to say that, especially during this time. You know, it's hard to socialize, it's hard to meet new people and you know, they want us to network, but how can we network during a pandemic? And this is a wonderful opportunity. So thank you all.
So I would also like to say thank you to each and every of you guys that are here today and made it possible, along with a big thank you to the sponsor, because whoever is in this gathering today, they obviously believing on diversity. But thank you so much to our sponsor to trusting and believing on diversity too and supporting us.
I would like to say thank you just because as a student, well, mainly this semester, it's been new for me to attend any type of workshops where I learn and then I put the activities into practice. So it has been very inspiring and motivating, and I will be taking some of this information to be used in my own personal experience and application processes. So thank you for that.
I guess to go off of that, I also would like to thank you all. It was very different for me. As an undergrad, I didn't really participate in a lot of these, free things because I just didn't know, I guess, either the people, so it made me kind of anxious to attend. But I never really appreciated just how important stuff like this can be, to help propel you into your career and other things, making connections. And that was something that I didn't understand in undergrad, but, you know, I'm definitely trying it out in grad school, and this has been very helpful.
Yeah, I'll just say, going back to something that Dr. Vela and my mom and I were talking about the other day, is that, and it's I think really really hard to find ways to like tangibly give back. Um, it can be really hard, and it can be really difficult to make tangible change in the world, and try to help people in a really tangible way. So I think having the opportunity to come and like actually like lead a workshop and share some of the skills and expertise that I've been granted by my time at Stanford, having the opportunity to do my best to give that back in a way that's meaningful is really energizing, and it's really positive. I'm really grateful for being invited. I'm honored to be invited, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. So thank you so much to the sponsors for making this possible.
Thank you all so much. I want to say just a few closing things. I know that we're probably a little over time, but I just want to say, again, thank you all for being here. One of the things that is extremely important as you are on your journey, and Dr. Bella and I talk about this all the time, is just about what Elijah just talked about, and that is about finding opportunities to give back. And so one of the things that we have an opportunity to do is to reach out to middle schools and to reach out to younger students, to bring them into the fold much sooner than we had opportunities to become a part of the fold. And so I would love to see us collaborate on some of those things. But then I also would also like to say that to the Halliburton Foundation, to Tony McClary, and to Allison Layfield that's over in the foundation. Thank you. Thank you for understanding the importance of this work. Thank you for understanding the importance of bringing awareness to the urgent need to diversify the STEM field, to reach across all sectors of race, ethnicity, and gender, to help us to unify everybody that's here and beyond. Your support is not in vain, and we really, really appreciate that you have invested in us in this way. And we look forward to making this a larger scale initiative that can welcome more students who may not have known about this just because of COVID, and everybody has competing priorities right now. And so we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. This was part 2 of our series on Empowered to Excel, with the focus on women in STEM. And so I would absolutely have to say unequivocally that this has been a success, far greater than I imagined that it would be. And thanks to you and your support, we have had an opportunity to impact lives, and we look forward to more opportunities to impact even more. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I guess we are wrapped up for today, Miss Kim.
I would say it's a wrap. It's a successful wrap. I can't wait to rewatch this.
Yeah.
This was really good.
It was very good. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.